My name's Travis. I'm 43 years old, divorced, and currently sleeping in a camper parked behind a Chevron Gas Stop in the middle of the Ozarks. It ain't much, but it's got a roof, running water, and a heater that mostly works. What more can a guy like me ask for? A job, you say? Well, I got one of those too. Janitor. Graveyard shift. I took the position 3 weeks ago after seeing a flyer pinned to the bulletin board outside a diner in West Plains. The paper was old, curling at the edges, but it caught my eye because it said one thing in bold red letters. Now hiring. No experience necessary. Night shift only. $20 HR plus room. The room turned out to be the aforementioned camper. And the job? Let's just say it wasn't the mopping or scrubbing that made me regret my decision. It was the damn rules. They handed me a small leather-bound booklet my first night. Looked like something out of the 1800s. Gold lettering on the front. Night operations manual, janitorial protocols. The manager, a wiry man named Clyde who never blinked and always smelled like burnt rubber, gave it to me with both hands and this dead serious look. You follow the rules, son, he said. Exactly. No exceptions. Or we'll be dragging what's left of you out of the mop sink. I laughed, thinking he was kidding. Clyde didn't laugh back. I didn't even open the booklet that night. Just clocked in at 10 p.m., grabbed a mop and bucket, and got to work. The store wasn't busy. Just a few truckers grabbing coffee and weirdos asking for cigarettes at 3 a.m. Easy enough. But around midnight, things got off. I was cleaning the men's restroom when the lights began to flicker. Not like old fluorescent flickers, but more like something was playing with the switch. I stepped out into the hallway, expecting to catch a kid messing around, but the place was dead quiet. Then I heard it. A low hum like a generator, except it was coming from inside the walk-in freezer. I crept over and pressed my ear against the steel door. The hum stopped instantly. Then something whispered from inside. Close the ice chest, Travis. You forgot. I jumped back like I'd been electrocuted. The voice, raspy and female, knew my name. That's when I remembered the manual. I sprinted to the break room and yanked it open. Inside, printed in tiny letters on aged paper, was the first rule. Rule number 1. Every night at 11:59 p.m., check that the ice chest next to pump 3 is closed. If it's open, close it gently. Do not look inside. Do not speak. If you fail to close it, the whispering woman will remind you, she is not friendly. I felt the blood drain from my face. Ice chest? I hadn't even looked at the pumps when I came in. Who the hell opens an ice chest at midnight anyway? From that moment on, I started taking the rules seriously. Real seriously. The next night, I came in early and made sure the ice chest was sealed shut before 11:59. I even taped it for good measure. No whispering that night. But as the week dragged on, more rules made themselves known. Rule number 2. Don't clean the mop sink in the back after 2 a.m. Something lives in the drain. If it sees you, it will remember your face. Rule number 3. If a black sedan with no license plate pulls up at 3:33 a.m., do not make eye contact with the driver. Stay inside. Turn off the lights. Do not open the door, no matter how politely they knock. Rule number 4. If you hear crying from the women's restroom but no one is inside, lock the door and place a mirror facing outward. Let it cry. Do not enter. Do not comfort her. I followed them all, one by one, terrified to screw up even the tiniest instruction. The oddest part, no one else on staff seemed to think this was strange. Clyde still never blinked and acted like everything was business as usual. One night, I asked the cashier, Brenda, about the rules. "You're reading the manual, huh?" she said, not even looking up from her magazine. "Yeah, it's real, right? I mean the ice chest thing." Brenda finally looked at me. Her eyes were glassy, like she hadn't slept since the Carter administration. "Don't talk about it out loud," she whispered. "The station listens." It was on my 7th night that things got truly weird. I was sweeping near the diesel pumps around 1:45 a.m. when I noticed something glinting under pump 6. Bent down to grab it, a quarter, shiny and clean like it just come from the mint. As I reached for it, I noticed something else. Bare feet behind the pump, pale, filthy, toes twitching. I stood up slowly. There was no one there, just the pump humming quietly in the dark. I turned to go back inside when I heard laughter. Childlike, high-pitched, it echoed across the lot but came from nowhere. Heart pounding, I sprinted inside and slammed the door shut. Brenda didn't even blink. "Don't pick up coins after 1:30, she muttered, turning a page. "It attracts them." I flipped open the manual again. Rule number 7. Coins found on the lot after 1:30 a.m. are not for you. They are bait. Do not pick them up. If you do, return them before 2 a.m. and leave a drop of blood where you found it. They are easily offended. Well, shit. I still had the quarter in my pocket. I practically tore the front of my thigh digging for it, raced back outside, and placed it under pump 6 where I'd found it. Then I bit my finger hard until I drew a thin line of blood and let a single drop fall next to the coin. The air felt lighter, as if someone had exhaled nearby. I didn't sleep a wink that morning. I've worked bad jobs before, but this Chevron, it's different. The walls groan at night. The air vents breathe. The lights sometimes flicker in Morse code. I caught Clyde writing it down once on a napkin. When I asked what it said, he burned the napkin with a lighter and stared at me for a full minute. "You don't want to know," he finally said. "There's one rule that I haven't broken yet, one I'm terrified to even get close to. Rule number 13. If the payphone rings after 4 a.m., don't answer it. Let it ring. Let it cry. If it rings more than 7 times, unplug it. Then run." We haven't had a working payphone on the lot since 2009. I checked, but it rang last night. Once, twice, 3 times. I stared at it from the mop closet, too scared to move. It stopped at 6. Now I sleep with my boots on, just in case I ever need to run. You might think I'm crazy, or making this up, or both. I wouldn't blame you, but if you ever find yourself driving through the Ozarks on Highway 160 between midnight and dawn, and you see a lonely Chevron glowing in the trees, do yourself a favor. Keep driving. And if you absolutely must stop, don't talk to the ice chest. Don't cry in the women's restroom. You ever get that feeling you're being watched, but when you turn around, there's no one there? Welcome to my every night. Ever since the payphone rang 6 times, I've been on edge. I walk like a man with a loaded gun pointed at his back. Careful, quiet, always expecting something to go wrong. The rules didn't say what would happen if the phone rang 7 times, but 6? That felt like a warning. Then last Tuesday it started again. Not the ringing. Something worse. The night began normal, if you can call mopping cursed tile and avoiding coin bait normal. Clyde was in his usual spot behind the counter, chewing on black licorice and watching the silent TV screen that flickered static. Brenda was out sick. First time she'd missed a shift in over a year, according to Clyde. "She okay?" I asked. He just nodded once and muttered, "She heard something she shouldn't have." That was all I got out of him. The manual had nothing about that. I checked. Around 12:15 a.m., I was refilling the windshield wiper fluid bins near pump 2 when I saw him. A tall man standing perfectly still on the edge of the lot near the tree line, just where the light didn't quite reach. His head was tilted slightly, like he was listening for something. No car, no footsteps, just appeared. I called out, "Hey, we're closed outside, buddy. Pumps only." He didn't respond, didn't even twitch. I took a step forward, and then I noticed something. His eyes, or rather the lack of them. The guy didn't have sockets, just smooth, featureless skin stretched across where his eyes should be, like someone had taken a wax figure and erased the details. My blood went cold. Then he smiled. Wide. Too wide. His mouth pulled up until it touched the bottoms of where his eyes should have been. I dropped the fluid canister and ran back inside. "Clyde," I panted, slamming the door shut behind me. "There's some dude out there by the tree line. Tall guy. No eyes. What the hell is that?" Clyde didn't look surprised. He just reached into the drawer, pulled out a yellowed sheet of paper, and handed it to me, written in the same stiff typewriter font as the manual. Rule number 17. If you see the eyeless man standing near the lot, do not acknowledge him directly. Do not speak to him again. Do not look at him longer than 5 seconds. He feeds on attention. If he smiles, you have exactly 7 minutes to hide. Somewhere dark. Somewhere he can't see your face. "I already talked to him," I said, breath catching in my throat. Clyde nodded solemnly. "Then you best get into the cooler. Now." The walk-in cooler behind the snack aisle was always cold as death. It smelled like frozen pork rinds and expired Lunchables, and the light inside flickered like a dying firefly. I slipped inside and shut the door, pressing my back to the cold metal. Outside, the lights in the gas station flickered violently. Something scraped along the walls, long, dragging noises like claws on concrete. Then I heard the whisper, "Travis!" It came from directly outside the cooler. He knew my name. I crouched down behind a stack of soda crates, heart hammering so hard I thought it would give me away. The light above sputtered and went out completely. I was submerged in blackness. I don't know how long I sat there, knees aching, eyes wide, heart threatening to explode. All I could hear was the ticking of the old cooler motor and my own shallow breath. Then the voice came again, but this time inside the cooler. "Travis." It was soft and syrupy, like someone mocking affection. I covered my mouth. The crate shifted. Something was in there with me. I closed my eyes and recited a prayer I hadn't said since I was a kid. When I opened them again, the light sputtered back on. He was gone. When I stepped out 15 minutes later, the entire gas station was empty. No Clyde, no customers, just me and the manual. I picked it up from the counter. A new rule had appeared, one I swear wasn't there before. Rule number 18, if you survive the eyeless man, do not speak of what he whispered to you. Not to anyone, not even to yourself. I haven't told anyone what else I heard in that cooler, because it wasn't just my name. It was something I've never told a soul, something from when I was 17, drunk and behind the wheel with a girl named Melody in the passenger seat. The road was slick. I was showing off. The car went sideways. I never told her parents the truth. I told them she screamed at a deer in the road, but the eyeless man knew. Since that night, I've followed every rule like scripture. I write down the ones Clyde gives me. I memorize the older ones. I even made myself a laminated cheat sheet for quick reference during my shift. But the place, it's changing. There's something growing in the mop sink. It moves when I'm not looking. The gas station lights sometimes flicker in a steady pattern. Clyde still writes it down. I peeked once. It said, "Run." And last night, the payphone rang again, 7 times. I didn't answer it, but I couldn't bring myself to unplug it either. The line hissed with static, even after it stopped ringing. I swear I heard something breathing on the other end. Not human. Wet and slow and angry. At 5 a.m., Clyde came in from the back, wearing a poncho soaked in something black and thick. He didn't say where he'd been. He just looked at me and said, "The next rule is yours to write." "What does that mean?" I asked. "You'll see," he replied. At 6:15 a.m., just before my shift ended, I saw movement on the security feed. Pump 3, where the ice chest sits. The camera started glitching, the feed turning green and pulsing like a heartbeat. Then it cut to black. I grabbed the manual, hoping to find guidance, but a sticky note had been placed inside the cover. Rule number 21, write your experience from tonight. Others may need it. So here I am, scribbling it all down. The eyeless man, the whispers, the sins he knows, the payphone that rang too long. I don't know what happens next, but I'm scared, because Clyde left early this morning, and the ice chest was open again. I didn't close it in time, and now I can hear her whispering from the freezer. By the time I clocked in for my next shift, the entire building felt colder. Not just the air, the walls, the light, even the damn floor tiles. It was like the Chevron had exhaled something foul during the day, and now I was the unlucky bastard who had to breathe it in all night. Clyde wasn't around. No Brenda either. I was completely alone. The only thing waiting for me behind the counter was a fresh pot of coffee, still steaming, and a new sticky note placed on the night operations manual. "You heard her. Now you owe her something." My stomach dropped. I didn't sleep much after last night. The whispering woman had spoken through the walk-in freezer for almost an hour after I failed to close the ice chest by 11:59 p.m. She never shouted, never banged, just whispered, whispered, and whispered and whispered. Things no one could possibly know. Details about my childhood, my father's drinking, my mother's death, the dog I buried alone when I was 9 and lied to my sister about for years. She cried for 3 nights. You never told her where you put him. The freezer said that. That voice was not human. The rules said not to speak to her. That much I remembered clearly, but they didn't say what to do after you broke the rule. I had broken it by failing to close the ice chest before midnight, and now I owed her. The rules had no clause for that, no guidance, just that awful note. You owe her something. I sat behind the counter, watching the monitors, waiting for Clyde to appear from wherever he vanished during these episodes. The cameras flickered every so often, but no eyeless man tonight. No coins on the ground. Just that feeling again, like something was watching me. At 12:45 a.m., the freezer door opened by itself. No gust of air, no creaking. It just swung open. I walked back there slowly, flashlight in one hand and the manual in the other. The temperature in the hallway dropped a good 10 degrees the closer I got. The inside of the walk-in was pitch black. Even the emergency light was out. On the floor, written in frost on the concrete, was a word, debt. Then the whispering started again, this time behind me. Travis? I turned so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. No one there, but the whispering kept coming. It circled me, crawling across the tile like fog. You forgot me. You forgot the rule. You looked in the mirror when I cried. No, I didn't. I never broke rule number 4. I was sure of it. Or was I? Rule number 4. If you hear crying from the women's restroom but no one is inside, lock the door and place a mirror facing outward. Let it cry. Do not enter. Do not comfort her. I always locked it, but I never placed a mirror, not once. Dread rolled over me like a wave. That tiny step, I skipped it because I didn't understand why it mattered. That was 2 weeks ago. Had she been waiting since then? Had I broken more than one rule? Was I even keeping track anymore? The whispering woman's voice changed, no longer soft, but stern, authoritative, like a teacher disappointed in a student. Debt must be paid. Then came the sound of dripping water. No, not water. Something thicker. The freezer floor began to glisten with black-red fluid. It wasn't blood, not exactly, but it smelled of rust and rot. And it was moving, crawling toward me, tendrils stretching along the floor like fingers. I ran. Back at the counter, I grabbed the manual and flipped to a page I hadn't dared look at before, a section marked with a black paperclip. Amendments for broken protocol. The pages inside were handwritten in ink, smudged and shaky, names scribbled in margins, bloodstains on the edges. I found one that made my heart stop. If the whispering woman speaks to you and you have broken her rule, you must offer a trade. Something precious, something personal, a memory, a truth, or a piece of flesh. If she accepts, your debt is cleared. If she doesn't, the rest was scratched out violently, deep gouges in the page. I didn't want to offer flesh. And truth, I'd already given too much of that last night. So I chose a memory. I closed my eyes and thought of my mother. Her smile, the way she used to sing along to Willie Nelson while cooking breakfast in her threadbare robe. She died when I was 13. It was the last time I felt safe. I let that memory rise to the surface and gave it up. It hurt. Not physically, but in a way I can't explain, like pulling a root from the ground that's been buried too long. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't remember her voice anymore. Not even her face. Just the smell of fried eggs and the hum of an old radio. The freezer door slammed shut, and the whispering stopped. I was numb for the rest of the shift. I cleaned like a machine. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I didn't even acknowledge the payphone when it rang once at 3:10 a.m. When the sun finally began to creep over the horizon, Clyde walked in, wearing his usual grimace and a black turtleneck he hadn't worn before. He looked me over. You paid her, didn't you? I nodded slowly. Good, he said. She doesn't like interest. Then he reached into his pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. Fresh, crisp, typed. Rule number 25. There is a door in the supply closet behind the soda fountain. It wasn't there before. It will be there now. Do not open it. Tape it shut. Say the Lord's Prayer. If the tape is torn by dawn, burn the manual. Do not read it again. You want me to burn the manual? I asked. Clyde just patted my shoulder and said, some rules are written in blood, others in smoke. You'll understand soon. Then he walked away. I waited until he was gone before going to the supply closet. Sure enough, there was a door where a shelf used to be, old wooden with an iron handle that seemed to pulse when I looked at it too long. I taped it shut. I prayed. I stood guard until dawn. And when I peeled back the tape, it was torn. I don't know what's behind that door. I don't want to know, but I can feel it breathing through the wood. The rules are getting worse, more specific, more personal. And tonight I found a new note tucked in my locker, scrawled in red ink, do not trust Clyde. When I got to work that night, the door was humming, not audibly, but viscerally, like a second heartbeat beneath the gas station's drywall. I could feel it even before I reached the supply closet behind the soda fountain. Every step closer turned the pressure up, like diving too deep underwater. And then there was the note. Do not trust Clyde. Who wrote it? Was it Brenda? Was it the whispering woman or something worse? I kept it in my back pocket. I didn't want Clyde seeing it. But it didn't matter. He wasn't there when I clocked in. I was alone again. 12 a.m. I took my usual lap through the store. Aisles stocked, bathrooms clean, no coins on the floor tonight, thank God. Nothing in the mop sink, freezer door still sealed. But the tape on the door, the new door, was gone. Not peeled off, not sliced. Gone. No residue, no scraps, just smooth, bare wood and an iron handle. A new paper was taped to the top of the frame. Typed, bolded, slightly crooked. Rule number 26. If the door behind the soda fountain becomes unsealed, do not open it, not even an inch. Place a mirror in front of it and do not look into the reflection between 2 and 3 a.m. During that hour, it's not your reflection staring back. I backed away, slowly, almost on tiptoe, afraid even sound would wake it. That door wasn't there 2 nights ago. Now it was the epicenter of something wrong, like the rules were bleeding through the walls now. At 1:33 a.m., the front door chimed. Someone came in, and it wasn't Clyde. It was Brenda, but she looked different. Her skin was pale like milk left out too long. Hair damp, clinging to her face like she'd come out of the rain, only it hadn't rained in days. Her eyes were glassy, lips bluish. Brenda? I asked cautiously. She smiled. Too wide, just like the eyeless man. My fingers inched toward the baseball bat behind the counter. Hey, Trav, she said, voice a little too smooth, like someone remembering how to speak. Just thought I'd check in. I nodded slowly. Heard you were sick. She laughed. It sounded wet. Oh, I got better, much better. You've been doing well, following the rules? Trying. She leaned on the counter. Her hand left a faint trail of slime across the laminate. That's good, she whispered, because some rules are about to change. And then she blinked, and her eyes became someone else's. My mother's. Just for a second. Then she was gone. Turned. Walked out the front door like nothing happened. I ran to the manual. No new rule. No update. Just a post-it stuck to the back cover. She's not Brenda anymore. Don't let her back in. The clock hit the hour, and I heard it. The door, the new one, groaned. Not opened. Just shifted like it exhaled. I did what the new rule said. Dragged the tall restroom mirror out front and placed it directly across from the closet door. Then I sat across from it on a chair, baseball bat in my lap, and waited. And at 2:13 a.m., the reflection changed. It wasn't me anymore. It wore my uniform. It had my face. But its eyes were wrong, like black marbles sunk in honey. Its mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear the words. It pointed at me, then at the door. Then it mouthed something I could barely read through the glass. You're already inside. I blinked. The reflection was gone. Just me again. But when I turned to look at the door, the handle was wet. 2:57 a.m. The store was dead silent. Then Clyde walked in from the back room holding a sack of ice. You brought out the mirror? He asked. I nodded. He grunted. Good. Means you're paying attention? Better than the last one. I stared at him, thought about the note again. Clyde, I asked, how long have you worked here? He paused. Then he said, too long. Before me, who was the janitor? He didn't answer. Just started dumping ice into the soda machine, whistling a tune I couldn't place, and then he stopped mid-whistle. You saw Brenda, didn't you? Yes. He turned around slowly. Don't ever speak to her again. Ever. She's not dead, but she's not alive either. Not anymore. She made a deal with something behind the door. What kind of deal? The kind that leaves your soul inside out. He turned back to the ice machine. I don't know how much longer this place is going to hold. What do you mean? He looked over his shoulder and said, the rules are failing, Travis. I didn't sleep after my shift. I went home, but I didn't rest. I couldn't. Because when I got to my apartment, the mirror in my bathroom was cracked from the inside, and there was a new note slid under my door. Typed, bold, same font. You left the mirror in the store. Now it knows where you live. I came back the next night, trembling. Clyde wasn't there. The lights above pump 6 were flickering in Morse again. I grabbed my notebook and jotted the pattern. He's lying. Inside the station, the payphone was ringing 5 times. Then it stopped. Another note taped to the phone. This one was handwritten in red. Do not let Clyde take you into the back room. He's not what he used to be. He made a deal too. Now I'm sitting here, typing this, waiting for him to show up again, waiting to find out if he's even human anymore. And the door behind the soda fountain, it's humming louder tonight. Something behind it knows my name. I showed up for my 5th night as the janitor at this cursed Chevron Gas Stop with a backpack full of salt, mirrors, and a hammer. Was I paranoid? Probably. But I wasn't coming in empty-handed again. The door behind the soda fountain was humming louder now, like a living, breathing thing. The walls around it felt warped. My phone wouldn't hold a charge within 20 feet of it. Even my flashlight flickered when I got too close. The last mirror I put up was now shattered from the inside. The glass warped and melted at the edges. And Clyde wasn't Clydey anymore. The night started quiet. No Brenda. No coins on the ground. No crying from the restroom. No phone calls. It was the kind of silence that made your thoughts echo louder than your footsteps. At 12:43 a.m., I found a new rule on the bathroom mirror. Typed, laminated, taped neatly. Rule number 27. If Clyde offers you food or drink from the back room, refuse. No matter how hungry or tired you are, if you accept, you will see the world as he does, and you will never come back the same. I stared at it for a long time. Clyde had never offered me anything before. Not a cup of coffee, not a bottle of water, nothing. But now the rule warned me that he would, which meant something was coming, something Clyde wanted me to see. At 1:12 a.m., the backroom light flickered on. No one flipped the switch. I checked the security camera feed. The backroom camera was static. Every other feed was fine. Then a moment later, Clyde stepped out of the backroom like nothing was wrong. His uniform was damp, his hands stained with something dark. He was holding a brown paper bag and a bottle of Coke. Hungry? He asked, smiling. My stomach churned. He hadn't even glanced at the new rule on the mirror, but he knew. He knew it was there. Had a long shift. Figured you'd need a bite. I stared at the bag. Whatever was inside was moving. I swear to God. No thanks, I said, backing away slightly. Clyde's smile twitched. Suit yourself. Shame to waste a fresh catch. Then he set the bag on the counter, turned, and walked out the front door. The moment he crossed the threshold, the bag screeched. I dumped the whole thing in the oil drum out back and torched it with lighter fluid. The flames burned blue. I stood outside watching the embers when I noticed something on pump 6 again. Flickering lights in Morse code. Look under the freezer. I hesitated. The walk-in freezer still freaked me out. It hadn't spoken since the dead night, but I could feel her in there, listening, breathing, but I had to check. I got down on my knees and used my flashlight to look beneath the unit. There, hidden behind a stack of boxes, was a small wooden box. Old, nailed shut, with a carved word on the lid in some language I didn't recognize. I pried it open with my hammer. Inside was a journal, bound in leather. The first page had shaky handwriting. My name is Caleb Moore. I was the janitor before Clyde. I read by the mop sink as fast as I could. Caleb's journal excerpts. Clyde wasn't always like this. He was normal once, just a quiet old man who drank black coffee and swept the aisles when bored. The door didn't exist until May 3rd, 2003. That's when the mirror cracked for the first time. He told me the voices promised him vision, truth. He said if he opened the door and saw what was inside, he'd be more than human. Now he can't stop seeing, even when he closes his eyes. Whatever's behind the door feeds off promises. It takes what's owed. If I go missing, check the cooler. That's where I hid the failsafe. 2 a.m. I raced to the cooler behind the Red Bull shelf, pulled out every box and crate until I found a loose floor tile. Beneath it, a gun, 1 bullet, and another note. Only works on what's seen too much. I didn't understand it, not fully, but I pocketed it. Then the emergency lights blinked off. Darkness fell like a curtain. The hum behind the soda fountain door grew into a roar. 2:59 a.m. I returned to the mirror in front of the door, and this time I watched. The reflection didn't show me. It showed Clyde, but not as I knew him. He had no eyes, just sockets full of twitching static like a broken TV feed. His mouth was sewn shut, but it moved anyway, each word like broken radio signals stitched together. He stood in front of the door in the reflection, tapping on it gently with long, bony fingers, and then he opened it. I felt cold air whip around the store. The door was still closed in reality, but in the reflection, it was wide open, and something was crawling out of it, a thing of limbs and teeth, dressed in my face. It whispered, "Come inside, come see the truth." The door handle in the real world started turning, not opening, just turning, slowly, deliberately. I aimed the gun. Clyde emerged from the shadows, voice like gravel soaked in cough syrup. "You won't stop it. I'll try. You can't shoot what sees through you." His eyes were pure static now. He took one step forward. I fired. The bullet didn't hit him. It hit his shadow. And the moment it did, Clyde screamed, a sound like 1,000 television sets dying all at once. He collapsed. His body twitched, then went still. I ran to the mirror. The door in the reflection was closed again. The thing that wore my face was gone. I dragged Clyde's body into the back and locked the supply closet door behind me. It hasn't moved since. No more humming. No more flickering lights. But I don't think it's over. I think it's waiting. When dawn broke, Brenda walked in. Only it wasn't her. Not really. She glanced at the broken mirror, smiled at the scorched counter, nodded at the closet. "You lasted longer than most." Then she handed me a new envelope. Inside, a new rule, typed, sealed. I read it with trembling hands. Rule 28, when you become the only one left, you must choose your replacement before the door opens again. The final rule burned in my hand. Rule number 28, when you become the only one left, you must choose your replacement before the door opens again. So this is what it comes down to. I'd survived the screaming coins, the whispering woman, the mirror hour, and Clyde's betrayal. And now I was being asked to bring someone else here, to hand them the keys to this nightmare. It felt like evil in the shape of bureaucracy, some hellish HR policy handed down from a place beyond reason. But the wording wasn't vague. I had to choose, because if I didn't, the door would open. The gas stop was unusually quiet that night. The silence didn't comfort me. It never does anymore. Brenda, or what's wearing Brenda's face, sat in the break room, sipping stale coffee and smiling with too many teeth. "You're taking too long," she said. "The door knows when you hesitate. I'm not dragging anyone else into this. You were dragged in. So was Clyde. So was Caleb. That's how it works. I don't want to be part of this." She looked over her mug. "You are." Then she left me with an unsettling piece of advice. Choose someone you already hate. It's easier that way. I tried not to think about anyone I hated. But that's the thing about desperation. It dredges up names and faces whether you want it to or not. People who wronged you, hurt you, cheated you, laughed when you failed. My mind went there against my will. The former boss who fired me after an injury, a cousin who took money and never repaid it, a stranger who keyed my truck over a parking space. But none of them deserved this, because this place eats people. 1 a.m. The payphone rang. I let it ring 7 times before I picked up. Static greeted me, followed by a faint voice like someone yelling from 100 miles away. "Choose," or "it chooses for you." Then a dial tone. 1:30 a.m. I walked past the cooler, checked every camera feed. The back room was quiet now. Clyde's body had vanished. Only the broken mop remained, soaked in something that wasn't quite blood and not quite oil. I found a new note wedged behind the counter. Typed as always, "If you fail to choose by 3 a.m., the door opens and you go in. No second chances." That meant I had 90 minutes to decide, to ruin someone's life or die trying. I looked in the mirror near the restrooms. My face was hollow, eyes dark-rimmed, skin sallow. I barely recognized myself anymore. And then I saw it, a second reflection. Not behind me, inside me. It grinned with teeth far too long, far too sharp. It whispered, "You could choose no one and take the door instead." It sounded tempting, but I had to be sure. What happened when you went into the door? 2:15 a.m. I found Caleb's journal again. There was one final brittle page, written in rushed, broken letters. "If you go in, you don't die. Not really. You just become part of the Chevron. You become the next Clyde, or the next Brenda, or worse. The door takes your shape and spits your soul back out crooked." That answered it. Walking into the door didn't end it. It recycled you. I felt like vomiting. 2:29 a.m. My phone buzzed. A name appeared. "Jesse." My old friend from high school, trucker now. We'd lost touch. Barely talked in years, but somehow he knew to call tonight. Hey man, you good? I was driving through and saw your truck parked. Thought I'd say hi. My blood ran cold. He was already nearby. I nearly dropped the phone. You don't want to stop here, Jesse. Why not? It's broken. Power outage. Weird smells. The usual. He laughed. Come on, it's a Chevron, not Area 51. I'll swing by. Don't. But the line went dead. The hum behind the soda fountain door became a low growl. The lights dimmed. And in the mirror, I saw a countdown, reflected on my forehead. I bolted outside just as Jesse's rig rolled into the lot. He hopped down with a wave. Trav, long time, man. I looked at him, really looked. Good guy, too kind for his own good. Raised 2 kids, drove nights to pay off medical debt. The idea of dragging him into this, I couldn't. Not him, not anyone. Turn around. What? Go, now. Get out of here, he frowned. You okay? No, and you won't be either if you step through those doors. Please. I'm not joking. He studied my face. Then he nodded. All right, but if you're in some kind of trouble, I am. Call me when you're out. He got back in his truck and drove off. I stood in front of the door. The soda machine vibrated. The floor was warmer. The hum deafening. In the mirror, the countdown hit shh. I closed my eyes and whispered, then take me instead. The door opened and nothing came out. No monster, no whispering woman, just a cold, endless darkness beyond the threshold. It smelled like rust and thunder. I stepped forward, 1 foot, then the other. I felt the Chevron vanish behind me. But I didn't lose myself, not completely, because when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the door. I was behind the counter. The lights were back. Clyde's uniform was folded neatly beside me. A new rule book sat on the counter, typed, bound in leather. Welcome to your promotion, Travis. You're the new manager. Congratulations. It's been 3 days since then. I don't clean anymore. I just watch. New hires show up without interviews. They always seem confused, lost. Like I was. The whispering woman hasn't returned, but I hear her humming sometimes in the drain pipes, and that door still sealed, but I know it's waiting. I wrote a new rule tonight, one I stuck to the inside of the janitor's locker, typed, crooked. The paper smells like static and old leather. Rule number 29, if you ever think of opening the door, remember me. I was once like you. Now I'm part of the rules, and the rules don't care who you used to be.